Air conditioning system. Household homes, offices, and shops cold on hot days are quickly getting unpopular in a heating planet. But is all the additional power they use departure to intensify environment changing, or can style efficiencies hinder the He's no miracle. Consumer demand for air conditioning system is departure via the rooftop. The power they absorb is potential to threefold among now and 2050, the World Power Agent, International Energy Agency, says. The would indicate how by 2050, the planet's air conditioners would be with the present power of the US, the Europe Association, and Japan combination. So scientists and technology companies are hard to do cool system more than effective. Researchers at Stanford College, for sample, include advanced a framework how uses cut-end material and nanotechnology photonics. They've developed a waffle-thin, very reflecting content how radiates warmth though in straight sun. The IR, heat power is emitted at a wavelength how slips via the land's ambience in area, quite rather than creature engrossed by it. In tests, the researchers found how it could be utilized to cold water supply flow via tubular products under panels of the content. How water supply, chilled on ordinary to a few degrees reduce rather than the external air heat, could later be utilized to cold a house. And the is reached out of any power at all. The researchers include set up SkyCool system to try to commercialize the technique. It would be sensible to wait how next air conditioners could be 2 times as nice as which we're vision currently, says Danny Parker at the College of Florida Sunny Power Center. Mr. Parker and his associate include consumable year hard to discover ways of manufacturing air conditioners and heater system more than effective. In 2016, for sample, they found how devices chilled via the vapor of water supply could be assigned to usual air conditioning units to ensure a radiator nourish of airborne. The usual units themselves didn't include to job so difficult to drag downward the heat of inbound airborne. They intended how such a system could enhance cool effectiveness in lot Europe climates by among 30% and 50%. Technology gigantic Samsung has advanced breeze complementary technique how softly pushes cold air in a chamber. One day the desirable heat has been achieved, out of the requirement for power-hungry fans always blast it at top velocities. The company says the is 32% more than effective rather than usual air conditioners. Down there are already lot sensibly effective air conditioners on the marketplace, consisting model how to use of easy devices named inverters. These regulate the rate of the cool relying on probe readings of the neighboring air heat. They can run always, but at low levels. Above period, how's frequently more than effective rather than a more than simplistic air conditioning how rest at the identical rate and has to hold switch on and off to support the order heat. While they're not fleeing plain out, they're fleeing really effectively, says Mr. Parker. Lot human beings in the evolving planet may not wish to expend the additional cash to get air conditioners in inverters, but if they did, how would do all the distinction in regulation of how the enlarged power consumer demand of new devices based up above period, says the International Energy Agency's Brian Moth-Irway. He's very on manufacturing. Certainly human beings are nudged to purchase the more than effective ones, he says. This decision's already accessible on the shelves. How may yet be a difficult sale in places like China, although, says Ian Staffel, an power specialist at Empire School London. Human beings wish the cheapest probable block and are not so concerned on the continuing expenses of the power, since power in China is so inexpensive, he says. Yet, power groups in the nation start up a program over the year to enhance effectiveness standards and marking of means on the marketplace. Just operating our current air conditioners more than efficaciously could rescue a lot of power. For copy, Tato's Clever AC Monitoring is an application connected remotely monitoring how automatic switches air conditioners off while human beings keep the chamber. It as well modifies the bed of cool in answer to on the internet weather forecasts. Superior control of the can bring power intake by 40%, claims Tato. Of year, enlarged consumer demand for air conditioning system wouldn't question so lot if all the power they consumption were engendered by revolving source. But the is hardly, in spite the fast preliminary of renewable energy in lot countries. We noted how power consumer demand for cool, air conditioning in homes and buildings, was start to increase rather rapidly, says Brian Moth-Irway at the International Energy Agency. The wasn't just since temperature were growing but since incomes were growing, too much, in such countries largest potential to be struck by world heating, he says. China, India and Indonesia will expense for part of all anticipated next increase in the region above following 30-year. More than technique of industry time down there wasn't lot increase in air conditioning turnover in China in 2015 and 2016, recent years saw a 45% peak, says Dinesh Kithani at study company IHS Markit, partially inflicted by a really hot summer. IHS Markit's household device intellect facility as well estimates down there were 130 millionth chamber air conditioners in use world in 2016, but 160 millionth a year after. Time cool innovative and a progressive selector to renewable energy should assist alleviate the increase in consumer demand for air conditioners, power expert Love Mr. Staffel spot out how, in a heating planet, down there'll as well be less than consumer demand for center heater. And a reducing in consumer demand for heater could displacement the growth in consumer demand for cool.